and a happy new year. Well, almost new year. We hit the halfway point this match day as clubs try to set up their home stretch with some good results. Some have easier paths to it than others. Looking at you, City and Chelsea. Better come through here if you want even a whiff of Liverpool come April. 2024 ends today on Coffee with a Kick. Hello, welcome back to another episode of Coffee with a Kick. This time for our pre-New Year's prediction episodes. We'll be back on in the new year with you with our Mondo recap episode for these past 3 match days. We've done 3 match days, 17, 18, and 19, and boy howdy, things are a-changing, aren't they? But we don't need to dwell on the past too much yet. We'll get to that later. Right now, Matchday 19 is our focus. Anything you want to preview before we move into the picks in earnest here, Keegan?
I'm not going to say Matchday 19 is the most important match day of the season, but everybody has their 2025 goals, their 2025, I hope I achieve this. And all of these teams that we're going to predict have those goals. They're thinking, if I can get this win, it sets me up for the next year. And historically, this has been a very momentum-shifting match day. Man City, in 2 years ago, they lose this match day. They don't lose another game for, I think, 33 Premier League games.
Wow.
They lost and they said, we're not going to lose again in 2025. I think they ended up losing in October. Crazy. Well, that was 2023. But beside the point, this could be a very important match day because you're ending a year. You're then moving forward, trying to get that momentum. My rant is over, but just to say, we're halfway there. We're moving on to another year. And I think these teams are really going to want to start the year off right. So we'll see how it turns out. We're certainly going to predict them, though. That's for sure.
That is true. We'll certainly predict them. But your Manchester City rant feeds directly into the first pick that we have, which is Leicester City versus Manchester City. Do you think that do they have to rebound from this end of year game match, or will they be able to carry some momentum into it?
I mean, right now, sniffing a rebound at all. I mean, we're the 12th man on the bench. We're just trying to get in the game. I think we get back in the game in this one. I think we win 4-1 because it's Leicester for one. Leicester's good. It's at King Power Stadium. Don't want to limit that at all, but these are the must-win games we talked about. These next 3 for Man City, the December fixtures, you're at the end after 19. I think we have one more in match day 20, then you get about a week and a half break.
Yep.
So it's really these match days that are most important. I think City get it done 4-1. I also said I think they would get it done the last 7 match days, and not all of them did they get it done. So I could be completely wrong, but I'm hoping for a 4-1 victory.
I'm with you there. I think Leicester City is a nice team to have for your December away match. I think it'll be a little bit closer. I think it's going to be 2-1 for Manchester City. But still, a dub's a dub, and an away dub is even better. So if they can pull it off, it sets them up going into this second half of the season. But we don't want to count our chickens before they hatch. Speaking of chickens, we're going to move into Crystal Palace, not Tottenham. You would think it'd be Tottenham, but they aren't up yet, and I should have kept it for that transition. But we're going to move into it anyways. Crystal Palace hosts Southampton, and I think that this is a great opportunity for Southampton to get some points on the board. Some real points here. 3 smackaroonies and 3 goals that they put in, which is going to be incredible for them because they do not score very much. 3-1, I have Southampton going into Crystal Palace and winning.
Wow.
Yeah.
Units play. I'm going to tag that one as a units play. I think Crystal Palace win it 2-0. They're at home. Crystal Palace they've had it tough the last few match days. So I think they get a nice reprieve playing a team like Southampton, who, as we said 2 match days ago, were points-wise worse than Sheffield United last year. Other stats-wise, they're doing better. But points-wise, worse.
Yeah.
I think that continues 2-0. Crystal Palace beats them.
No, we need Crystal Palace to go. Both of us do. Both of us do. They're not good, though. Then we go to Everton hosting Nottingham there. Now, this one, I will let you start.
Yeah, similar kind of feel as the Crystal Palace type game for Nottingham. Nottingham had it a little tough recently. Same with Everton, playing some good opponents in the top 10. I think they regroup here and get a much-needed point away from home. If I am not mistaken, I think it's at Goodison Park, is it not?
Yes. It's up in
at Goodison Park. Yeah, I think Everton been in really good form as of late comparatively to the beginning of the season. But I think Nottingham's just good enough this season to get a draw and continue that Champions League action. Because, I mean, as of the end of Matchday 17, as we already mentioned, Nottingham and Bournemouth are in Europe positions. That's right. I think they want to stay there. So I think they get a draw, a hard-fought 1-1 draw at Goodison Park.
1-1. Okay, I don't have to change my pick then, because I too have a draw. And my 2 is a 2-2 draw for Everton and Nottingham Forest.
Touche.
And the puns abound. I don't have a pun to get us into this next one. Just a sort of slant rhyme. This is Fulham and Bournemouth in the capital city. Fulham is it's a very interesting matchup actually, but I do think Fulham is it going to hold. They are defensively very organized at home, it seems, and I think that continues here. And I'm going to change. I had it 2-0. I'm going to change it to 2-1.
Fulham winning.
Yes, with Fulham winning.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to change mine to 3-2. I had it 2-1. I think that 1-goal gap, I think you're onto it. I think that'll be it. But I think both these teams, again, really want to score. They want to keep their good form.
Yeah.
Fulham are in good form. They've just drawn 4 of their last 5, with that one being a win. Bournemouth on the other side, they've won 4 of their last 5. So it's kind of like, what do we do here? 2 evenly matched teams. One is just finishing games a little better. But I think Fulham holds ground, like you said. They keep the Queen's capital protected. 3-2 over Bournemouth.
From those raging... I'm not going to finish that. I'm just going to leave that one. Just going to let that one go. Wither on the vine and get out of here. Over to Tottenham versus my Wolves. And, you give me one Wolves victory and I go crazy on my picks for them. So, obviously, I have my Wolves going into Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and winning 3-2. So, that's just how it's going to go. That's how it be. That's how it be. We got a new manager. He has won 1 match so far. We are recording this, obviously, ahead of time. So, I don't know how we did last match day when I picked them to beat Manchester United. And now they're going to go beat Tottenham as well. Just keep on winning.
Yeah, this one, I'm right there with you, honestly. I think Wolves match up really well to Tottenham's deficits, which is their wing play. Wolves have good wingers, and they also have a really good attacker in Cunha who can play it really well in between the other 2 attackers they have up front. I think that plays really well into Wolves' hands, and I think they go 2-1. Wow. And I think this might be the game that gives Ainge the boot. Tottenham have never been the team to really exile a manager mid-season. But if there ever was a game, it would be halfway through the season, losing to Wolves at home. But 2-1 is my prediction. I think you're right with the 1-goal deficit.
Hey.
We'll see, though.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Do we know if Kuna's going to get suspended yet?
They said a ruling was coming on the 19th of December. Then I didn't see anything, and then he played match day 17. So I'm assuming that no further actions were taken.
Okay. I was expecting it to come out before match day 17, but it didn't. Well, whatever. We'll see what happens. We'll move on to the next one, which is West Ham hosting Liverpool. For this one, what do you think? Do you think Liverpool can go into West Ham's home turf and get a full 3 here?
I think this is where Liverpool slip in this congested schedule. I think they lose 2-1.
Oh wow, full loss.
I think West Ham have had a few Match day 17, West Ham drew. They drew again 1-1 in match day 16. Match day 18, we don't know because we record this ahead of time. But, I think they're due for a win and a good win. So I'm going to go 2-1. They hold firm with the Liverpool losing at the Olympic Stadium.
That would be something. I have it just as a 1-1 draw, so I'm almost there with you. But I do think that Liverpool, they've managed to find ways to not lose matches. And I think this is going to be one of those where they don't look good for most of the match. They're down 1-0, and somebody nets a sloppy giveaway by West Ham in like the 87th minute, and they just manage to squeak by and keep a point at least, and manage to stay top of the table with a good bit of room, especially depending on depending on how the other matches are shaking out, obviously. But speaking of 1-1, this is how I have the next one as well, which is Aston Villa hosting Brighton Hove Albion. I've got this as a 1-1 draw as well. Brighton can score, but also sometimes they like to forget how to score for stretches, and I think that they're going to be entering one of these here at the turn of the year, and only draw 1-1 with Aston Villa.
Yeah, as we've seen, both of these teams have minimal difference between the goals they're letting in and goals they're scoring. I think, though, Aston Villa will hold home turf and win 2-0 with an early goal and a late goal. I think John Duran is in really good form. I think this game he might get a brace. He's even usurped Ollie Watkins as the starter, as we saw in match day 17. So I think he'll get a brace in this one. They'll win 2-0, and they'll hold home turf. I think so.
All right. Well, we'll check that one out as it occurs there, and then I'll let you start off with here. If the Tractor Boys versus the Blues here, technically they could both be called the Blues, but that would be confusing. So we got the Tractor Boys versus the Blues of Chelsea.
I think this is a classic. Corporate money comes in, buys up the farmland, and builds a massive waste plant.
Wow!
On top of what used to be some lush grass in the hillsides of England. 4-0 is my prediction. I think Chelsea smell blood in this one, and they're going to be smelling it a lot. I think Cole Palmer scores a goal. Nico Jackson might get one if he's healthy, but this is one of those where you just know Chelsea is going to just take it to them. They match up really well versus Ipswich. Ipswich wants to possess, but Chelsea has been a team that presses well and scores often. So I'm going to go 4-0. 4-0. That's my conservative pick. I think it could be worse.
Yeah, I've got it as 4-1, so I don't have to change my pick because we do disagree on the goals for Ipswich Town. But yeah, I don't give them Tractor Boys much of a shot, even if the units are relatively not totally out of whack with some of the ones that we've seen with like Liverpool and Leicester last week or midweek. This I don't think that 6.28 is enough of an enticement for me to risk it on Ipswich Town here, even if they are holding, even if they are at home. I'd rather take the Chelsea units there, and 4-1 I think is a very, very reasonable result for that. And then we go to Manchester for Manchester United and Newcastle. For this, it's hard to get a gauge on these two teams here. So I chalked it up as a 2-2 draw. I just feel like that's something that both teams could very easily land at because they can both score, but they also like to give up, and I think 3-3 is just a bit greedy.
I have the exact same number of goals, but I have it tilting towards Newcastle. I think they win it 3-1. Again, like we mentioned in our match day 18 predictions, or at least I mentioned, I just think that the honeymoon phase is over for Man U already. Amorim doesn't have the players that are going to fit his system that he wants. I think Newcastle, again, they're going to be like Chelsea. They're going to smell blood. They're going to see the hesitating play that Man U play with, at least their players show, and they're going to pounce on it and get all 3 points at Old Trafford.
Well, that would be a disappointing way to end the year for United, obviously, on top of a very disappointing first part of the season. Maybe it could spur them on to something greater in the second half, but I have my doubts. Speaking of my doubts, I'm looking at the pick that I have here for this last match of pre-New Year, and I got my doubts about it. But I'm going to stick with it. Brentford hosts Arsenal, and I'm picking them bees to win 2-0. I said with confidence.
I mean, I wish I could call you crazy, but I might just be going to the mental institute as your roommate. I'm going 2-1.
Wow.
Brentford wins. I mean, we've seen Brentford at home play incredibly well. It's the squishing of the fixtures. I'll continue to say that until December's no longer have this amount of games. But it's just, it's a lot of games. Saka is now out for multiple weeks. Yeah. That was a new revelation after Matchday 17. I think one more player for Arsenal is also out for a little bit. So the injuries pile up. You want to rest some guys, especially as you're still in European competitions. I think Arsenal is still in the FA Cup. So, 2-1. I think Brentford get a historic win at home as far as they are concerned.
Yeah, it's also just like a random late December match. But, anytime you can beat one of the big boys at home, it's going to make the fans feel good at least. And that brings us to the end of Matchday 19 and the end of 2025. What? No, it isn't. The end of 2024. The beginning of 2025. We will see you all in 2025. Anything you want to say to wrap up the year?
Happy New Year to all our subscribers. Thank you. I'm sure at some point we might do a year in review in 2024. Who knows? I just named that right now. I have no idea if we will. But it would be fun. But yeah, thanks for subscribing, watching. I'm excited to keep it up in the new year. And until we do get to that new year, why don't you go ahead and grab your coffee, watch some soccer. We'll see you in 2025. Now about general.